Tokyo, my dear friends, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I hope all of you are doing very, very well today. I want to take this opportunity to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I was so lucky enough to have uploaded onto this YouTube channel a few days ago a number of videos regarding the works directed by Akira Kurosawa that were in the Criterion Collection. I wasn't really expecting much because I'm not at all an expert in Kurosawa, so I don't know anything about him in any kind of academic capacity. I'm just a casual fan, but it was a real thrill for me to try to figure it out and try to wrestle with the works of Kurosawa, even to the extent that the extent that I am a casual fan, so to speak. And so it was a real fun thing, but I wasn't necessarily expecting to have the kind of response that I have been getting from you, the viewer. So I really want to thank you very much for commenting and watching and commenting on the videos, or also maybe commenting through other means. Some of you we connect on Facebook or maybe on Instagram or through other means. And so I want to thank you so much for your comments and also your insights and sharing your stories about your experiences with Kurosawa's films. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The greatest thing for me about YouTube is the opportunity it provides me to connect with you, and the opportunity it provides me to hear from you and to learn from you and to become inspired by you. That is the most important thing for me. So I want to once again extend to you my heartfelt thanks for giving me a lot of positive feedback, giving me a lot of critical feedback too. It's really great to hear that. Also to just share with me your own thoughts about your own ranking and list of your favorite films by Kurosawa, from descending from number one or something, and sharing with me your absolute favorite Kurosawa film, sharing with me the first time you saw a Kurosawa film, insights about what Kurosawa films are available on the Criterion channel, which is so helpful for me because, as you know, I'm not a subscriber to the Criterion channel or film streaming services. So thank you for that. Such interesting insight for me. And the like, it's just so enriching for me in many ways. I was so thrilled. So thank you very much. And so now it leads me to the next question, which is, what director in the Criterion Collection should I try to do next? It's a little bit of a challenge. I'm not quite sure, but there are a couple ideas that are already in my mind, and I know that some people have been mentioning some directors to me as possibilities for suggestions in the future. So I'm very grateful for that. And if you have any thoughts or comments or requests with respect to which directors you would like to see discussed more in this YouTube channel, by all means, please feel free to leave a comment below and let me know. I can't promise that I can act on every single request, of course. That's due to my own time limitations, but also my own limitations in knowledge and knowledge base about the directors. So, but if I am able to do something, please be assured that I will do my absolute. I'll do my best to try to put together something. I do have a couple ideas now, though, but I don't want to say anything further because I don't want them to. If they don't materialize, then I don't want to just sound like they're just empty promises. But in any event, I do have a couple ideas. So if you have any suggestions, please feel free to leave them in a comment below, and I would certainly love to hear about them. Any directors that you think should get more, should be discussed more on this YouTube channel. And let's try to focus on the Criterion Collection, because I think that's a nice common ground that we all share, this our love and affection for the Criterion Collection. So let's try to think of directors that are in the Criterion Collection. And they don't necessarily have to be directors that have a wide filmography or a wide presence in the Criterion Collection. They can be, but they can be anyone who has a work in the Criterion Collection, and we can go from there. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about that. I received a question from a viewer and friend asking me about, are there any films on the horizon that are scheduled to be released this year or next year or so that you are anticipating or that you are looking forward to? And I was thinking about the question, and it was a really nice question, because I think for a lot of people, I think I've shared this with you already, but I am not at all good with my recent release cinema. I do go to the cinema once in a while, and nowadays it's to take my children. And I remember the last time, it was maybe a week or so ago, I took my daughter to see the film Dumbo, Tim Burton's Dumbo, and I was surprised how much I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a great film, actually. I was really, really moved, and there were some scenes there that I was just so emotionally caught up in. It was great, and I was so surprised how I mean it's probably such a terrible way for me to say I was so surprised. That's so rude. Let me take that back. I shouldn't say I was surprised. I was very impressed. I was very impressed by all the performances. In particular, I was impressed by Eva Green. I thought she was such a strong kind of anchor to the film in a very interesting way, as was Danny DeVito. I thought Danny DeVito and Eva Green in particular were really good in that film. But in any event, I'm sorry. So Dumbo was an example of a film that I saw in the theater most recently. But I don't go to the theater that often. I'd like to go more, but it's impossible for me at the moment. And as a result, I don't necessarily watch recent release films. And therefore, I don't necessarily get a sense of excitement about or anticipation about recent release films as I think I would have earlier in my life when I was going to the movie theaters more, etc. For instance, I remember many years ago when the Dark Knight trailers came out, and I was so excited about those. Those were just amazing to me, and I was just filled with such anticipation. I had to go opening night, and it didn't disappoint. I felt the same about the Star Wars prequels when their trailers were out and the anticipation was so high. I remember in particular, I loved the trailers. I think the first full trailer, not the teaser trailer, but the first full trailer for Attack of the Clones. I still remember to this day how much I loved that trailer and just watched it over and over again, just trying to figure out bits. And there was that lovely moment. It had that great use of Duel of the Fates. It was really lovely. I remember I was so filled with anticipation with the Star Wars prequels, and there were some others as well. I think I was quite into, but now I don't have that sense anymore of really wanting to get excited for a film. I can't wait to see this film. I see the trailer, and my good, I don't necessarily have that feeling much anymore. I don't watch the Marvel films. I saw Avengers recently, and I thought that was really good, but and I should watch more, but I don't quite know. I have no, unfortunately, I'm not that eager, or I don't have the knowledge base enough to be able to get excited for the film Avengers Endgame, and I know there's so much excitement in the air about that film. So good for you, and I hope it's a fun and fulfilling time for you in the movie theater. I'm sure it will be. And just unfortunate for me that I'm not able to share in that, and that's just my own fault, I suppose, because I didn't jump on the bandwagon early enough to follow the through lines and everything, and I kind of regret that now. So I'm not too excited about any films in particular. Again, that's just because I don't have a knowledge base of recent releases. I guess the film, actually there is one film though. There is one film that is filling me with so much excitement and enthusiasm. I cannot wait when it is released, and I cannot wait to see it. This film has been, I think, in the works for a number of years. I think so. I've always heard things about it. I've always been curious about it because there is a lot of strength and pedigree in the making of this. Many people involved are very talented people, geniuses that I've admired and respected for as long as I can remember. So this is a film that I'm really looking forward to very much. The director of this film is a person whose name, yes, appears at the top of this cover of this particular DVD. Now, this DVD is for a film called Who's That Knocking at My Door? This is a film that was directed very, very early in the career of a filmmaker whose name is Martin Scorsese. I bring this up because this kind of initiated something. I think for many people, that something really exploded onto the cinematic landscape with his film Mean Streets. Mean Streets by Scorsese, starring Harvey Keitel and Robert De Niro, is for me one of those jolts of a film. One of these days I'd love to talk about this film, but it means so much to me. I remember when I saw it for the first time, I was quite young. I didn't know much about the world, and I still don't, but when the Rolling Stones song Tell Me bursts onto the soundtrack, and everything is just so hypnotic and smoky and red, I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked, and I've been a Rolling Stones fan ever since. I think thanks to Martin Scorsese, I became a Rolling Stones fan. But anyway, there's Mean Streets, and then it doesn't quite there's a reason why I'm bringing these up in a second, but there is a slight connection between Mean Streets and Raging Bull. Mean Streets does involve the story of petty gangsters. There's a gangster element too in the film Raging Bull, also by Scorsese, which is also a film that I want to talk about one of these days. But the one gangster film that Scorsese did that is perhaps his supreme masterpiece, of course, is Goodfellas, of course. Again, I really should spend one of these days talking about these films by Martin Scorsese, and because they mean so much to me in the sense of the sort of the contours of my own journey through exploration of cinema. This is one of those key films in that exploration. It's amazing to me. I watched this. This was made in 1990, and it's now 2019, and so it's what is that? It's almost 30 years, right? Almost 30 years since this film was made, and still it feels so fresh and modern and new and alive. Cannot believe it. It's really a great film. But this is perhaps one of the greatest, perhaps even the greatest American gangster film, I dare say. But that's a topic for another video. But this is Goodfellas. And then, of course, there is the film from 1995. That's right. So Casino, which I adore. I absolutely adore this film. This is one of my favorite Scorsese films. I love everything about this film. I love the great chemistry between Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci, and also Sharon Stone. My goodness, Sharon Stone delivers a dynamite performance. I think she won the Golden Globe that year for Best Actress in a Drama. So, what a towering, smoldering, explosive film this is. Again, I want to talk about this film one of these days, and I really want to do that. I remember seeing this in the theater. That was the year 1995. I saw this in the theater, and I saw Heat in the theater. And both times my mom took me. Wow, what a year. 1995. Robert De Niro, 1995. Heat and Casino released in the same year. Can you believe it? Can you believe that? I'm so happy. I'm so lucky to have been able to live through that moment. But anyway, Casino, another great gangster film by Scorsese. I should point out that there seems to be a little bit of a progression. In Mean Streets, we had this kind of low, petty gangster level story, and then it grows a little bit, but still these gangsters are still pretty low level, although there are instances of what's known as made men, gangsters of a certain high status within that class. But then we get a little bit of a rise in the hierarchy, so to speak. Gangsters that are more in control of this kind of conglomerate or empire that's being built, the gangster control in the gambling interests in Las Vegas. And so there is a lot at stake here. So it seems to be there is a progression in terms of the hierarchy of exploration from the levels in Mean Streets, and then you gradually go up to Goodfellas, and you gradually go up to Casino here, which is great. Then, therefore, it brings me to the answers to the question, which was what film that I am anticipating the most in the coming year or the coming years. And that film, my friends, is the film The Irishman. The Irishman is the film that I am looking forward to the most. I don't know if you've seen the trailer. It's a very a teaser. It's not even. It's a really just a line of dialogue or two over a title. That's it. So you don't get any new scenes. But I've read a lot about this film, The Irishman. I'm excited about the cast. I am so excited about this cast. I'm intrigued about the possibilities of what they're doing in terms of special effects and technology, what's known as de-aging technology. I must admit, I'm not quite sure if it's going to work. If it doesn't, then that might prove to be somewhat of a disappointment. But I will keep my mind as open as possible. And again, I haven't seen anything yet, so I'm not sure I don't have any conclusions as of yet with respect to that particular element of the filmmaking. With that in mind, of course, the pedigree that is involved and the real kind of force of nature that is Scorsese, it's really just filling me with so much excitement. And to see Scorsese with De Niro and with Pesci and also with Harvey Keitel, and also for the first time working, of course, with Al Pacino, there is something of it feels like another. It can go one of two ways. I think it could be one of those things where you have maybe this idea of well, actually, let me take that back. I do trust Scorsese immensely. I don't claim to be a Scorsese expert, and I think there are works in Scorsese's canon that I really love more than others, of course. But still, I don't know I can't explain this. Maybe the cynical side of me might think that, oh, this is like a cash grab. maybe they're trying to cash in on all this mystique and the reputation that they've built up over the years with the gangster genre, the American gangster genre, and they go all the way back to Mean Streets, and with Joe Pesci to Raging Bull. So there could be a little bit of cynicism there. Oh, why would they do this except for a cash grab? So part of me might be tempted to be cynical, but actually, the more I think about it, the more I realize there must be a bigger reason why these actors have decided to come back the way they do. There must be a reason, and it has to be more than money. It has to be more than money, because they don't have to do this, right? They don't have to do this. I mean, De Niro and Scorsese, they don't have to work together. I mean, they haven't worked together in years, so they don't have to work together like this. And it's not like they have to prove anything anymore. I mean, they've proved it. They've done it. They've given us really everything that we need with respect to the great American gangster experience, so to speak. And so they don't need to show us anymore. They've shown us Mount Everest. But I think there has to be something special here to have these people come back and have the gang all together for one last hurrah, so to speak. And if that's the case, then I think I can push any remnants of any cynical feelings that I might have had. I can push them off the table, and I can really go forward and feel with much confidence that this is something very special in the making, something that has the potential for being very, very monumental. And so The Irishman is the film that I am looking forward to the most in the coming years. I don't know what its release is going to look like here in Tokyo, because as some of you may know, the release schedules differ based on geographical region. So I have no idea what the release schedule is like in Tokyo. I hope there's not much of a delay. I remember, for instance, there was a huge delay in the release schedule between when, for instance, Twin Peaks: The Return was first broadcast in North America, and then when it was first broadcast here in Japan. There was such a delay. I think that the broadcast schedule here in Japan was such that by the time the first episodes were being broadcast here on Japanese television, the Blu-ray set was already being released, and so I had to wait all those, whatever it was agonizing to wait all those months and months and months to start watching Twin Peaks: The Return. And so I didn't even bother watching it on Japanese TV. I just bought the Blu-ray and I just devoured it. But my point with that is that Japanese release schedules tend to be not always in unison with the release schedule in the United States or in Europe. And so I hope it's not a case that I have to wait all this time to watch The Irishman. I mean, if that's the case, I might have to really take a trip to the United States and try to watch the film there. But I'm not sure. It's a Netflix film as well, right? So maybe it might be a little bit easier for me to watch. But again, that's streaming, so I'll have to see about getting a subscription if that means I'll be able to watch The Irishman. But at the moment, I'm not a subscriber to any streaming services. But anyway, that's the answers to the question, is The Irishman. So yes, so I hope that answers the question. So thank you very much to my viewer friend who presented the question. And for you, are there any films that you are anticipating this year that are being released? I know that there are a lot of exciting films coming up. So if you have any anticipated films and you want to share them, please feel free to comment below, and I'd love to hear about it. I think that's really wonderful to hear. And it might get me more interested in that and help me to realize what it is exactly I'm missing out on, because I know I'm missing out on a lot. So, and that's another great thing about YouTube, is that you help me to figure out what I should be watching among the recent releases. And so for that, I am eternally grateful. Okay, my friends, that's it. So I hope you're all doing well and keep on watching a lot of great films. Until we meet again, my friends. Cheers.